Dear Annie, this is a fictitious letter, but it's based on a combination of hundreds of stories that I've read about people suffering from narcissism, as well as experiences that I have had, as well as experiences other people have had, and I've woven it into a clean little story. Okay? Dear Annie, give me your thoughts. I had a friend. I devoted 40 years of my life to this friend. I loved my friend very much. My friend was like a brother to me. He had his best friends, and his best friends kept him balanced. His best friends were awesome, because the one thing they could do is always be honest with him. They all had their differences, but he learned from all of them, and they all learned from each other. They were known as the Fantastic Four. I grew up knowing his friends were his friends, and my friends were mine. He made clear his close relationships were his, because he never invited me to make myself a part of his group. He was my hero. He is my best friend. I learned early from him to be fine with my limits. He was a pretty good friend because he never made me feel that he was pushing me out because I'm a girl. He made me aware that each person has their friends, and their friends are theirs in their life for a reason. He suddenly found this long-lost relative. This relative was actually very envious of him. Envy means to want something someone else had in their life or childhood. It's a bitterness in the soul, as if, why not me? This relative wanted his better lifestyle. I could see it. His friends could see it. Nobody wanted to say anything, so I tried to say something, but he got upset. The relative seemed friendly, but something was very sneaky about everything that they did. This relative was hurt a lot, and that was really sad too, before she met her relative. This relative had a damaged soul, so she clung to him. For those that don't know, damaged souls are sick souls. Sickness are vices that build up and cannot be managed. A sick soul wants everything in the material world that they didn't have. It's greed. Who knows where greed comes from? Greed comes from many things, but greed is really a void someone is trying to fill. This relative came in his life. Everything seemed fine at first, but then, I'm not really sure, Annie, it seemed that this relative learned the arts of the devil. What are the arts of the devil, you ask? The arts of the devil is to psychically push people in and out of people's lives. This relative pushed people in and out of his life. She pushed everyone around with her attitude. She moved people around like pieces on a chessboard. Not checkers, a chessboard. She provoked people. She disrespected people. And she irritated them while crying that she was just misunderstood or left alone or had no one, until she became the number one person of importance. The pyramid of his priorities began to change, and people started to wonder, is he okay? Does he need help? But he never asked for help, so we weren't sure how much help to give. We made suggestions and said something's not right, and we're asking him to take a step back and look at the life he used to live and how healthy he was, and look at the life he's living now and how unhappy he is. He got upset. Anger kind of makes me think people aren't ready to accept reality. But the reality is something's draining him. I think it's the relationship. So this relative decided to become friends with all of his friends. I watched. He did not know that this attachment was not love. This attachment was an obsession. Everyone saw what was happening. Everyone saw that she was making sure she always had a place in his life. He asked, how can you say such things? He thought it's just bad-mindedness, evil of thoughts. But the reality is everyone is watching what an energy chaplain watches. Patterns. The patterns of energy loss mixed against a philosophy of what love is. Love is what causes people to grow. This person wasn't growing. The parasite, the person who was a parasite also wasn't growing. Everyone saw that this is what was happening. He asked, "What makes you think that?" But he wasn't really ready to listen. The vampire in her was not young. The person was young. But much like a succubus, the face never looks like what the age is. A succubus is also another ancient mythological creature. It steals energy. People that steal energy never quite look the age that they're supposed to because they drain other people. He only had human eyes, while every one of us, because we loved him so deeply, we're looking with a spiritual eye. What's a spiritual eye? A spiritual eye is a relationship of authenticity where you desire for someone to grow. It's an energy that expands outward. A spiritual eye is an expanding energy outward. That is what I mean by the spiritual eye. Versus the naked eye only sees things from 2 dimensions. She believed that he was her wingman, the person that should aid her in all her glory. She believed she was his only friend, but that's not true. Everybody remembered the Fantastic Four. She believed she saved him, while she actually was the puppeteer. She was the engineer, much like Lucifer, moving people around. She had another friend who was like her, but that friend abandoned her when the friend realized they were exactly alike. She learned all of his life story and his weaknesses and his sadder moments because he really trusts her. He wished he could take those stories back, but he couldn't. He was in a moment of vulnerability and he shared a lot of his life and his pain and also his success. And she, being an energy vampire, knew exactly which ones to plug into. The narcissist in her is the vampire. It is Lucifer. This is the narcissist's weapon, to listen closely with a motive. Listening is a learned skill, but it doesn't reflect the heart. The heart is reflected by what someone will invest in you. Did she invest in him at all? Or did she just pay her own dues, which means carry her partial responsibility for being in his community? She would use all the tactics of narcissists to stay close to him by false connections and arguments. After a while, what was regular logic to him suddenly became a different type of logic. The tactics included, "But we're family," or "We are like family." But narcissists are not family. They're not. They can be blood kin. They can be blood, which is kinship. It's kin. Narcissist is not family. A family is someone who is devoted to your betterment, your wealth, your health, your protection, your improvement. Family means communal. It means people that love you. And love has a specific form. Love is the energy we all recognize as helping us grow towards coherency, stabilization of the mind, and happiness. Happiness, a joy in the heart that we experience from being with people and being with ourselves. Family is people who invest in you from your foundation for the goodness of the act, for your growth. Perhaps he was her family, but she was not really his. She was an opportunist. The tactics included yelling, "I need you to help me," but she really understood everything going on. Every cry for help is not a cry for help in real life. Wolf, wolf, wolf is not always someone in need of help. You have to listen to the patterns of the people close to you. She engaged in blame shifting. Narcissists do that. That's a tactic. We talked about that earlier, blame shifting. If you had done all these things for me, I would not be where I am. These sick people don't believe that they can do evil because they're looking out for some of their bloodline roots. But they can do evil. They can do spiritual damage. Unfortunately, my friend believed her. I wasn't able to talk to him. I kept praying that he would see the following: the poor interpersonal boundaries she created around him, which means their circles were too close. He forgot that his life doesn't belong to her. He forgot that she's just a relative, not the creative energy that he brought into the world. He wouldn't see the guilting of everyone that she engaged in. A narcissist will never admit to being both lazy and a parasite. That's what they love, being lazy and a parasite. They think they're queens or kings in some kingdom that they've created. It's an illusion. And they will do everything to maintain the illusion. And that's why they're called crazy. He would not see that she uses her mood swings, claiming dysfunction, only to scare people, and her sad childhood stories only to gain sympathy. They weren't actually to learn anything or to teach anything about her, to share her joys. 2 motives: playing victim and scaring people away if you can't get what you want. So again, the devil plays in people's minds. She was always building a grand vision of things that she could achieve and who she would have been. But she would never attribute her success to physical work. She built a grand vision that could never be achieved and wasn't interested in his success. She was interested in her own. Signed, Sherry and Juan. So Sherry and Juan is sharing their life story about their best friend that they're watching get sucked by this girl who came into someone's life, pretended to be a friend or family, eventually moved in, and then played the cripple. Because that's what narcissists do. They come in and they either play the hero or the cripple. They always play the extreme. They keep the battlefield on level, frustrating the mind, the resources, playing victim, lying, setting up stories. But everything is orchestrated so that in the end, they'll have security by being the cat on the cow's back. That's their goal, to get to their goal with someone else's workforce. On the next posting, we'll talk more about continuing to plan an escape. I hope you enjoyed the story. And if it made sense, give me some feedback. And if it didn't, let me know so that I can improve. Thanks.